Welcome back to another episode of the Clear Skin Podcast, and I am your host, Delia. Today we have a really important episode that we want to talk about because we actually haven't dove into this topic just yet, but today is a good one. And this is going to help anybody struggling with breakouts and also those who want to maintain a youthful complexion. So, as always, we've got our resident skin therapist, Nikki and Amelia from Clear Skin Solutions, and we want to talk about ingredients that are pore clogging and irritating to the skin. And so before we dive into all of the good, juicy stuff, part of the reason how Clear Skin came about, and I'll let Nikki tell the story, they've developed their own acne safe and age management skincare line purposely for this reason, because there's so many ingredients out there that can be pore clogging and just too irritating for the skin. So we want to inform you about some of these ingredients, not all, because it's a big, huge list of pore cloggers, but we're going to talk about some of the main culprits that are probably sabotaging your skincare goals. So, Nikki, I know you have a little bit of a personal story. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but can we talk about that a little bit and how we got here?
I love that we started having this conversation so I could go back and remember where I was at in my understanding of skincare and ingredients and formulations, because I really, had just embarked on my education about acne. I understood the dysfunction of the pore and the important ingredients, but I didn't understand um, how to incorporate ingredients and products that were going to be okay for acne and aging,
Right.
right? So I had gotten to the point where I understood how to keep my skin clear, but I was starting to age. And so the skincare line that I had used at the time and that was very helpful in educating me, in starting my education, I was clear and I wasn't breaking out anymore. And my husband had gotten accustomed to me not having acne all the time. But I was starting to get dry and irritated, and it was just aging me. It was creating that inflammation that was aging me quicker. And so I started grabbing products that were really good for age management that wasn't so good with pore cloggers, right? So he comes home and jokingly, my husband walked in and he said, what do you have, a third eye? Because I had a big zit in the middle of my forehead. And explained to him that because at that time, I could not find any products that were acne safe and were good for aging. And I told him that. And my husband said, because I said, you just can't, they don't go together. And he said, why can't you start doing that? And so I went to bed that night and I argued with him and I told him it's not possible. And I went to bed that night and I thought, if you can have formulators formulating products for acne and for the dysfunction of the pore, why can't you find formulators that can help you do both? Right? Not necessarily does it have to be only for acne, but for, premature aging and for reversing the clock and slowing down the clock.
Yeah, awareness is one of the most important things because there's so many products on the market that claim to be acne safe or non-comedogenic. Like those are the buzzwords that, we've been hearing for a while now. But, the importance of awareness is that that's not always the case, right? So there are acne safe and non-comedogenic products out there that actually still have some of the biggest offenders in their products when it comes to pore cloggers. So, Nikki, can you tell us why it's important to be aware of pore clogging ingredients in skincare products?
I always felt really nervous about giving people a list because, there's like websites that you can put in product ingredients and it can turn around and tell you if it has pore cloggers in it.
Yes.
And those exact same ones I can put in products that I know have pore
Mhm.
cloggers in them and it will say it's okay. So it's like we're giving just enough information to people that it can be harmful, but at the same time, not harmful, but it's not going to lead to you having clear skin. It's really important that the formulas are done correctly. So I could have two items that are more irritating, but might not have a higher number in a formula that is going to be irritating to you. So slowly adding products in one at a time and having the skin itself tell us when something is wrong, right? Because if I just start all these products at the same time that might not have any known pore cloggers, I could have some irritation right away, and I want to know which one it is.
Right.
So, yes, pore clogging ingredients and checking them are important, but at the same time, being careful, because formulators who do this for a living that understand the dysfunction of the pore are going to be much more educated than the common person just buying products is going to be.
Right, for sure. All right, well, let's dive into these common pore clogging ingredients. And the first one we're going to start off with is a fan favorite, which is olive oil and coconut oil. Amelia, can you share some info on why we should stay away from these ingredients?
So something to remember when we're talking about pore clogging ingredients is that you can be using like all of the right serums that you've heard about that you know are meant to clear pores. And then you could be using makeup that has like a coconut oil or an olive oil in it. Or like some type of setting spray that has something in it, and it's going to negate all of the money that you've spent and the work that you've done on clearing your skin. So there's going to be certain ingredients that are going to be really common that you're going to want to look for, and you might not know what they are. So olive oil and coconut oil are the two most common that are generally used to eat or cook with, that people started using topically, that became like a huge thing. Everybody was like, olive oil masks in the hair, coconut oil on the face. Well, it turns out both of these products are comedogenic and irritating. When you use things like coconut oil on the face, we're clogging pores, we're creating fungal issues, we're trapping bacteria. Both of these oils trap bacteria on the skin. They cannot penetrate the skin, so they're not actually giving you any moisturizing benefits. You're not getting like any nutrients from them. So they're sitting on top of the skin, which can make it feel smooth for a while.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, it comes with a lot of negative side effects. So we're starting to notice clogged pores, perioral dermatitis, fungal reactions from these types of things. And if you're, like I said, if you're using them with serums, then you're just going to be countering the issue. So we're going to be still breaking out,
So no matter what, for whether you've got acne or age management, we still want to stay away from these ingredients in skincare, right?
including on the body. So if you
And then
have,
what-
if you're
yeah.
acne prone, like you don't want to use these things anywhere on your body.
Mhm.
But the nice thing about that is we can't use it topically, but you can still eat it. It's completely safe. So it's not going to cause or um, bring on any acne.
Right.
Eat
Okay.
it all. You can eat it all.
Don't
Now.
hear it.
Yes, and Amelia, why do we not recommend it for your body? Let's say I don't ever break out on my body. Can I at least use it on my body?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I touch my face all the time. I more commonly touch my hair.
And
And
then
so
your
I've
face.
got shea butter on my hands and I'm touching my hair and I'm like, oh, it's so soft, and I don't think about it. And then all throughout the day, it's going to be touching my face. And then before you know it, it's basically like I put it on my face. It doesn't make a difference.
How many people? How many people during COVID? I remember when they were like, "Whatever you do, don't touch your face."
I'm like,
And I was
you're
like,
right.
I don't touch my face. I don't ever touch my face all day long.
If you
Somebody
don't,
touches their face. We don't even realize it, right?
yeah.
Somebody had put like little sparkles on their fingertips, and
Oh,
within an hour their face was completely covered with sparkles. And I
yeah,
thought that was such a great way of showing how often we touch our face.
that's so true. That is so true. All right, let's hop into the next one. We've got shea butter and a newer one that's kind of hyping up right now is tallow. So what about these ingredients that are in so many products?
We all thought, because every single one of the thicker formulations had shea butter in them, so we thought that shea butter was super nourishing and moisturizing, but it is not, and neither is tallow. It can make your skin temporarily feel as though it's softer. I even tested it. Matter of fact, it was Delia that was asking me about it, and I'm like, I just really don't have that much knowledge around it, and I played with it and tried it out. And it does. It temporarily gives you a feeling that feels really good. Well, come to find out, it's a lot like Vaseline. And careful, Vaseline does not have pore cloggers in it, but it doesn't have any moisturizing
Right,
potential. It's not nourishing anything.
right.
What it is it's really good for an occlusive. Like if I've got some problems, I might give somebody some fungal cream, and you could occlude it with Vaseline, and it's going to protect the rest of the skin from whatever you're using. But at the same time, if you do that with shea butter, it does have pore cloggers, it does have irritants, and I can create fungal reactions and irritation from just using shea butter on the skin.
Mm.
So it's highly unrecommended for people that have a tendency to have acne, eczema, rosacea, and have a tendency to have fungal reactions on their face. Now, this is kind of funny because, you would think that the skin specialist that I am, that my husband would be like, you wouldn't buy stuff without talking to me about it.
You would
But
think.
no, I am nothing. He found these bars at Costco, and he was like, they smell heavenly. Okay, just so y'all know, they did not smell heavenly. They were given it kind of reminded me of like that Old Spice smell.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, all power to him. And I was looking at the ingredients, and it had shea butter in it. Now, I thought that it was going to trigger his acne first on his back, but what I saw is really irritated and inflamed back. And
Mm.
so it doesn't look or feel well hydrated. It looks mad.
It
And
looks
so, yeah, it just looks mad. His back looks mad. Um, but I don't want to break the news to him quite yet.
I was gonna say, is he mad about it?
Well, because I'm doing an experiment myself. I want to
Right.
watch how it
Okay,
evolves.
interesting. Love these experiments.
Yeah, because I just want to watch. But
Yes.
Pictures.
he's thinking that it's hydrating because it has shea butter in it. It's not hydrating him. It is definitely inflamed and irritated. So as I keep observing how these irritants react on his back, I'll be back with
Yeah,
more
let us know. This Costco bar. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't, I'm sure that it smells good to many people, but now that I have a sensitive nose to fragrance, the tendency is most fragrance smell like chemicals to me now.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't smell like the yummy, what did we grow up using? Like the fabric softeners that just filled your house with a chemical
Yeah.
smell, right? Like, yeah, I've ruined my
Little
fun.
Scentsy pots
Yes,
and the Bath and Body Works candles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get a headache with them now.
Oh,
I've
totally.
lost their appeal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on to algae. This is a surprising one because it's often marketed as a natural ingredient that's like really beneficial. So, what is the deal with algae?
So I found that a lot of times I'll get somebody, for the most part, clear, just beautiful skin. And then they'll come in broken out one day, and I'm like, what's going on? We can't figure it out. Nothing's changed. And they've added some type of supplement or drink, and somewhere in the ingredient deck, it's got algae in it. Now, the thing about algae is it's kind of funky. It's a hard one to really know for sure. We know that ingesting it has issues with the amount of iodine that you're ingesting, so it creates a culprit for acne and irritation of the skin. Now, when it's in the products that we're using topically, um, there are several different types of algae. We've got like seaweed and kelp, which again we can ingest, but when we're applying it topically, it's a huge culprit. So when there's several different types, we know that some of them used within certain formulations by skin specialists are okay. But the majority of the time when you're finding algae in your products, it's something that you want to steer clear of. And if you have a skin specialist who specializes in acne, I would have them check the ingredient deck before applying it to your skin, just because you don't want to risk it. But algae, I would say all of the time to avoid consuming it. And then topically most of the time, but if you're worried or you're not sure, ask somebody.
Did you know that for a period of time they were all over TikTok doing drinks with seaweed and kelp, and there was another ingredient,
Yeah.
and they were saying that it clears all type of skin issues,
And
and
gut
we were
issues.
seeing, yeah, and the problem is that it creates a gut issue, and we were seeing lots and lots. We can usually find out what's going on TikTok.
Yeah, right. If somebody comes in and they're like, I don't know what's going on, you know the TikTok trend, so you can
Yep.
narrow it down a little bit, right?
But
Yeah.
all of these where it's like natural has become the trend,
I know.
everything we talked about today, these are all natural ingredients.
Yeah.
So if you're on the natural trend and you're, which I completely understand, we've got a culture right now that has a lot of things that we're using on topically or that we're ingesting that are causing lots of health issues. So I understand the health trend, but it can actually cause issues in some cases. So just because it's natural doesn't always mean it's good for you.
Yeah, as soon as somebody says I'll ask about products or diet, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm just fully natural." I always ask, "What does that mean to you?"
Mm.
Because just because it says natural or organic doesn't mean it's good for
That's
our skin or our guts.
Does that mean that you wash your face with water and then you use coconut oil as a moisturizer? Because I can pretty much guarantee that your skin's going to be having a hard time.
It's gonna be stripped. Yeah.
And
But we
it's
can-
amazing. Like I just had somebody the other day, it was one of my friends had shared a post, and it was a celebrity singer, and I won't name names, but she was using an olive oil and sugar mix, like DIY, and was rubbing this all over her face, and I was cringing. I was cringing watching this, and I thought, oh my goodness, she's such an influence that people are going to be going out now and doing olive oil and sugar on their skin. And just watching this, her skin was so dehydrated and irritated, I could see it. And I was like, oh my goodness. But in the comments, people are like, really? Like olive oil, coconut oil? Like that's not good for my skin. I've been using it. No, it's not good for the skin, peeps.
Now, what you need to do is get the sugar and over exfoliate.
Yeah, exactly.
No cares in your skin because
Just take off that top layer,
Yeah,
sister.
yeah, just strip it off. We'll help you repair it. Don't you worry.
you hear me all the time. I'm like, I don't really believe that they might be doing this for a do-it-yourself video, but I don't believe that's been touching their skin very often.
I mean,
You
it
know?
looked like it had been. It really looked
Oh,
like
it had.
yeah, yeah. There was no professional product going on there.
Okay, all right.
All right, let's talk about
We should reach out to her.
we should reach out to her. We should reach out to her because we could do wonders, and let's get rid of that little DIY project going on at home. All right. What about talc? Talc is in so many makeup products. So should we be concerned about talc?
So talc is like the biggest culprit for me because I'm the makeup girl and I'm always trying to find, because one of my favorite makeup brands that we used for a long time, that was completely pore clogger free and irritant safe, and they stopped carrying my colors. So I'm always trying to figure it out. And so with a lot of powders, they have talc in them. And so just like setting powders or whether or not it's a foundation or I've noticed like even certain highlighters and bronzers will have talc in them. Talc for me is such a huge irritant. So if I use that with prolonged use just several times, even over the course of a week, my skin will be horrible. So it's great for absorbing moisture. It reduces shine, so I can see why they're using it in products for beauty purposes, but it settles into the pores, it causes blockages, it leads to breakouts, and it's super irritating in most cases. So I'm always looking for talc-free options. We've got lots listed on our Amazon where it's like different makeup options because I'm the girl who's tried them all.
And that's the best person to go to for you know what's going on there, Amelia. All
Right, but at the same time,
Oh,
I always like to remind people, just because it's on our Amazon list does not mean that they will not change their formula. They
That
can
happens all
change
the
their
time.
formula.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, one of our makeup, our favorite makeup lines
The one I
added
was
olive
talking about.
oil back in.
Oh,
I mean,
oh.
they added olive oil in, so we had to stop carrying them. I loved how they tried to explain to us that it wasn't going to break out our skin.
Well, that's good. You guys are always keeping your eyeballs on those ingredients for those changes too. So
Gotta keep checking them.
keep checking them. Yeah. All right. Before we finish up, we want to dive into some hard to pronounce pork loggers. These are always fun. So some tricky names that you may not recognize as a pork logger. Okay, so let's talk about isopropyl myristate. Who wants to tell me about that one?
So the fun part about this common emollient is that it is super, super, super irritating. And one of the reasons people tout it and love to put it in formulations is it's supposedly going to take things deeper. Now, the problem with that is if you have an ingredient that is as irritating as this, you are adding, like, for example, a vitamin A. It's not going to accept the vitamin A, and it's just going to become super irritated. I always talk about, like, I want to make peace with my skin, so it'll take in the ingredients that are most imperative to change those pores, to change that skin. Now, if I have that in a formula and I want an important ingredient like vitamin A to go into that skin, but my skin's mad, it's not going to work out very well.
Right.
So heads up, it is in tretinoin. So I'm always like, when people say, I don't do well with vitamin A, it's probably that they don't do well with this ingredient and they've only tried their vitamin A with this ingredient.
Okay, our next hard to pronounce pore clogging ingredient is butyl stearate. So who wants to talk about this one?
Butyl stearate is an emollient and a thickening agent that can be comedogenic and very irritating. So much like isopropyl myristate, it's super irritating. And so in a lot of products that they use this, it's usually for like flavoring, and sometimes it'll be like, if it has natural scents, it'll be the butyl stearate. So it's something to look for also, as it's not always labeled clearly.
Yeah.
But that's a big issue in skincare.
Okay. And then the big one that we talk about a lot is SLS. So those are your sulfates that are often in shampoos and cleansers. So why should we be wary of SLS?
Yeah, so SLS, usually when we're hearing about SLS, we hear it in those 3 letters, and it's called sodium lauryl sulfate, and then they have sodium laureth sulfate, which was supposed to be the one that came out after the lauryl that was less irritating. But what SLS is it's a foaming agent, and it's a foaming agent all of us has come to love. And so
Addicted to.
we think that our hair is clean if it suds, and we think our toothpaste works if it suds. And unfortunately, both of those things, like as far as our shampoo and our toothpaste having SLS in it, causes huge breakouts around our hairline as well as on our chins. Now, we did have a product a while back called Mandelic Cleanser that had a sulfate in it. So sulfates, they are on a spectrum. Some of them are more sudsing and more irritating, and some are less so. So this was our sudsing cleanser. It was the one we had.
Yeah.
And everybody's always looking for a bubbly cleanser.
Yeah.
And even with that form of the sulfate, we were noticing that it wasn't worth it because it was still irritating the skin, and we were having a slower time bringing back inflammation and reversing time. So sulfates altogether, no matter how they're showing up in your ingredient deck, I would say to avoid them, but it's not going to say SLS. It'll be a little bit harder to read.
Right. It's going to have sodium lauryl sulfate. Okay. What about, Nikki? Tell us about cetyl alcohol and cetyl 20.
Well, when we were first talking about this, one of the things that they used to say is make sure that if they're together, they're really irritating and pore clogging. I'm one of those that either one of them on their own is going to be super irritating to my skin. And going back to the conversation, I have a protocol that I swing through with important ingredients that I need in my skin. If I'm irritating at all, I can't. The L Mandelic is super irritating. I mean, everything just becomes over the top and I have to stop all of my active ingredients. So I don't mess around with either one of those. And I highly recommend making sure that if you do, that you pay attention.
Those are some of the biggest common pore cloggers. Like I said, there's lots of different pore cloggers out there. So it's always best to make sure that you're seeking professional advice, and making sure that you're seeking that advice from somebody who does understand these formulations. Because like you said, Nikki, there can still be these ingredients in an ingredient deck, but just depending on where they've been placed and their concentration of them, right? So any final tips before we wrap up?
I did not touch on fluoride, and fluoride is a big one. Fluoride is really important.
Let's talk fluoride.
I have never gone to a new dentist where they tell me I have to have fluoride, but I get less cavities today than when I used to use fluoride. So I throw that out there, and I know that people have a lot of ideas around it, but this is for me. I no longer break out around my mouth once I've stopped fluoride. And one of their big ones lately is during your dental appointment, they recommend getting a fluoride boost.
Yep.
And I even do that. And like I said, just eating a whole food diet, my teeth are much better. But fluoride is a big pore clogger. So you have to be really aware that around your mouth, people think that it's in my mouth, not around my mouth.
Right. But still, I mean, you've got that. We all get toothpaste. We all get the toothpaste around our mouth, right?
SLS and fluoride are pore cloggers, and they foam, and it's going to come out of your mouth.
So what can you use instead of fluoride? Like what is there to use for brushing your teeth that
So we just always another one is on, we've got, I think 3 right now on our Amazon list. Another one that's important to pay attention to, because usually when it's SLS and fluoride free, coconut oil is one of their top ones. So pay attention to those 3 ingredients. And like I said, go to our Amazon list, and we usually have 2 or 3 of them that keep going on there.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, thank you, ladies. That was great. So make sure that you save this podcast so that you've got a list of some of these top pore cloggers that we see so often in skincare and people using, especially on our TikTok trends. We do love these trends, but at the same time, we've got to be really careful of them. So as always, we will be back again next month with another episode of the Clear Skin Podcast. And be sure to follow and reach out to us if you have any questions. You can email us at info@clearskinsolutions.com. Thanks, ladies.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Delia.
Or go try out these ingredients and come back.
Yeah,
to
go
it.
for it. Let us know.
I'm always like,
Try
if you were wrong, go try it out and let us know how it went.
it. But do it one at a time so you can see how it's working, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.